So Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is now on PC. We have the campaign, the multiplayer, the zombies, and while the shaders are compiling, I'm going to show you the settings that I'm using. I want to target a mix of performance, battery life, and frame rates. Unfortunately, this doesn't work on Linux due to the anti-cheat, so we're on Windows 11 using the Gamepass version. 800p, 90Hz, if you're on the LCD, 60Hz. Then when it comes to VSync, we have it at 100%, so it's targeting that 90 FPS with VSync on, so we don't have tearing. Custom frame rate limit, we're going to tweak this while playing the game just to show you. When it comes to quality, we're using XeSS on the balanced option. Looks pretty good on the smaller screen. There's also frame gem, but I do not recommend using it below 60. VRAM target, 85%. A mix of basically medium and low settings, trying again to do a balance of visuals and performance. And I had some bad news for the campaign, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But it's basically the settings. And when it comes to FOV, it's 90 degrees. Then when it comes to motion blur, personally, I like the weapon motion blur in this game. The world motion blur, it just blurs everything. This is only the gun when it does sudden movements, which I think it looks good in this one in particular. So yeah, once it finishes preloading shaders, we're going to get right into it. But these settings will be the same for multiplayer, zombies, and the campaign. So we have a consistent setting to be using. Okay, so the game started. We are on the campaign right now at the very beginning. And as you can see with these settings, I also disconnected the power brick. So you can see how it runs on battery. It's basically, this is how much time is left, how much power is using, and the battery is completely charged at the moment. There are some stutters, unfortunately, which it's a recurring theme. But as you can see, we are right in between 40 and 60 sometimes, depends on the mode. In this case, we drop into the mid-40s when looking at some of those particle effects, which is pretty common, unfortunately. So before going any further, I highly recommend you lock it to 45, at least on the OLED. On the LCD, maybe consider using 40s, but 45 is just in between the 90 Hz thing, which is the Steam Deck's refresh rate, the OLED. You can also do 50s using everything on low, but again, I think this is a better balance of visuals and performance. You can also get better frame rates by using FSR1, but it doesn't look as good when it comes to smaller details. But the game feels good to play at this frame rate. The thing are those stutters, I don't know what that's about. Maybe because I have my UMA buffer at 1 Gigabyte instead of 4. I'm not entirely sure. But again, we're playing on Windows. So there was obviously... it really requires effort. But I think in this case, XeSS looks better when it comes to especially shadow rendering. For some reason on FSR1, FSR3... and the other upscaling solutions, the shadows are super grainy with the upscaling on, which in my opinion completely sucks, but hey, what can you do? Yeah, I don't know what's up with those stutters. But when it comes to battery life, it seems to be over 2 hours on the OLED. On the LCD is probably going to be 1.5 hours or something like that. But again, I'm not entirely sure. I left the UMA buffer at 1 Gigabyte because usually these games love using the system RAM. But it allocates the VRAM as it sees fit. It's usually working well. So yeah, 40 to 45, I would say. If you play with, again, the absolute lowest, which looks significantly worse than medium for some reason, which, I mean, is to be expected, you'll be getting maybe into the 50s or the mid-40s on the LCD. So does it feel bad at 45? No, not at all. Actually feels pretty smooth. We're on a smaller screen, so that helps a lot. Same with the pixel count. We still get good graphics, soft shadows on the guns. The characters actually drop their own shadows there just fine when there's a light source. What I'm not entirely sure on why it happens are those stutters. They are freaking annoying as well. And also the bad news that I was talking about before is that the campaign requires you to be all the time connected to the internet. This was a thing for a while, since COD 2019. Now it also happens in the consoles, so it's not only a PC exclusive downgrade to be on the internet at all times. But that's something to keep in mind. It's not like you can play the campaign while you're flying somewhere without an internet connection. I'm just spamming grenades and shooting everyone. But the battery life consistently stays, basically, according to the program that I'm using, over 2.5 hours. So that's pretty damn good in my opinion. Especially, again, this is a benefit of locking the frame rate. You don't push the system to its absolute limit at all times. But I'm pretty sure the stuttering thing also happened on the multiplayer beta. Not sure if what's the limitation over there. Okay, time to shoot down the helicopter, I'm guessing. But we're now on the move, there's effects on screen. And actually, yeah, you can notice that the particle quality is at very low. But that makes it possible to hit consistent frame rates, as long as it's not stuttering, at least. Okay, some explosions, whatever. Good. Yeah. Again, for the sake of consistency, I'll just keep it at 45. Half 90 Hz, smart screen is good. So now we're indoors and it runs, well, on the GPU side at least, significantly better. There's woods. I don't want to spoil more stuff, but it looks pretty good. We don't have self shadows, not sure why. But yeah. In here it's fine. We're not outside, so it kind of makes sense, but still. We're now at zombies, and as you can see, 45 FPS cap. This can get more demanding than the campaign, believe it or not. But that's because of the amount of zombies that can happen a few rounds in. So also right now, there's no zombies, obviously. Never mind, there's a couple of them. But if you ever play zombies in Call of Duty, you probably know that it can get pretty intensive a few rounds in. Especially then when you start pack-a-punching guns and all that good stuff. So on this one, I wouldn't target 60s either. It's kind of a fool's errand, I would say, at least on the Steam Deck right now. Just because, well, if you plan on playing this for any length of time, you're going to get, again, a lot of effects on screen, more zombies. So yeah, you're not going to have a great time if you try to tweak at the beginning of the map. But hey, it works. It runs a bit worse than the campaign, at least on this map in particular. This is not 100% surprising. It's kind of what I was expecting. It's usually, when looking into the distance, when it drops the most, mixed with effects, which is a pretty common occurrence. Again, especially later on, with more players playing with you. You can play solo, like I'm doing right now, or you can play with other people. Solo doesn't mean offline though. You have to be online at all times to play this game, no matter which mode you're playing at. I'm already in round 3. What? And I was just speaking to the camera. So again, what I was saying is that you just need to target 45 due to the fact that, well, it's going to drop below 50 even at the lowest settings when there is some stuff happening. And here again, the more zombies show up, the worse it will be. With 45, I think we have a good amount of GPU usage to spare. Okay. But what you can do to also improve performance a bit more if you don't care about graphics is to lower the shadows even further, which will look... I think some places will miss shadows, but again, we're playing portably, so that shouldn't be a priority. I like being, again, on a mix of performance and visuals. Again, I think 45 for a Steam Deck is more than enough, at least on the smaller screen. It still looks pretty smooth. I've been playing this at 60 yesterday. It's a great game. So far, I'm pretty surprised for what I'm seeing. It's pretty bad that it doesn't run on Linux due to the anti-cheat shenanigans. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. Finally, a good Call of Duty. A good new Call of Duty that is not Modern Warfare 2019. Also, when it comes to stutters, the zombie mode has way less than the campaign. I'm guessing because it's a consistent bigger map instead of being something linear with, I don't know, the AI being different. Maybe it's a bit more reactive when it comes to the player. I'm talking about the campaign in comparison to zombies. But still, zombies works great as well. But again, effects is when it makes it drop, basically. We're not playing multiplayer, and well, the GPU usage seems to be similar or a bit lower than campaign, which makes sense. Smaller maps, no AI doing its thing, only other players. And like on the beta, I notice drops when there's effects on screen. For example, a big explosion next to you, grenades and stuff. Personally, while I don't mind playing multiplayer at 45 FPS, some of you guys might be wanting 60s maybe, or something like that, or above. Unfortunately, the Steam Deck I don't think can do consistent 60s even on multiplayer, at least not on this game. But I'm going to try it anyway while I give my conclusion to you guys. Because yeah, campaign and zombies at 45 is one thing, but multiplayer, I'm going to see many of you guys saying, hey man, lower settings, lower the resolution a bit, let's try unlock frame rates. I don't care about battery life or any of that. Well, got you covered. We're going to do that. I'm going to drop all the settings. Alright, so now I chose the lowest settings at the same resolution. We're keeping 75 resolution, 75%, because on minimum it dropped to 50% resolution, and I think that's a little bit too low without using one of the upscaling sharpening techniques. So lowest settings according to the game. So let me restart the game and try it. But the game does look significantly worse. I'm guessing this is the shadow quality and the shader quality. There are glowing doors and glowing people. There are drops into below 60, to say it in some way. When something happens, even at 75% resolution. But if you're playing multiplayer and you want to get every possible frame... Oh, I thought I was a person. This is the way to do it. It'll still drop below 60 and looks significantly worse when it comes to visuals. But you get a higher frame rate. So if you're interested into that sort of thing, I recommend you do it. In the campaign, you're not going to maintain nothing above 60 because bigger maps and the AI and all that in the background makes the game stutter for some reason in the campaign. Multiplayer doesn't seem to have that problem. Zombies doesn't seem to have that problem either, but I'll consider the multiplayer the least demanding part of the game. At least so far. But sometimes there are graphical problems on the lowest. But if you're playing multiplayer, you probably don't care about a balance of visuals and performance, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. And most of you guys in the comments always tell me, oh man, show me potato settings for big frame rates in multiplayer. Well, as you can see, we get drops below 60 still, even if there's only one person shooting us. But is smoother than just playing at locked 45, especially for a multiplayer game. So when it comes to the game itself, the entire game, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, I'm pretty impressed. I'm having a lot of fun with this Call of Duty title, which is a big praise coming from me. The previous one, I was very disappointed. The campaign on this one, it's a lot of fun. They fleshed out the maps better when it comes to open environments. And it continues the story and has Easter eggs of the previous Black Ops games. Zombies seems to be less, less demanded on the player. So I was able to get to round 5 very easily. So not sure if they changed the difficulty or something. But yeah, Zombies also runs a little bit worse at the campaign. I mean, when it comes to later parts of that Zombies experience, you're going to get more zombies on screen, effects on screen, more players with you against, again, lots of zombies. So for campaign and zombies, I'll do 45 FPS. Then if you want to be competitive, I want to be between 50 and 90, depending on the map. You can do lowest settings, 75% resolution on multiplayer. Going lower than this, especially when it comes to resolution, won't change much of this experience. But you can also do 45 with the same settings as campaign and zombies on the multiplayer. Oh man, I'm so bad with the controller. Oof, although that guy was worse because he died. Anyway. So you have options. Multiplayer, again, not perfect. You're going to get drops below 60 no matter what. But if you want to do a mix of visuals and performance and battery life, multiplayer, put it at 45. Optionally, do it like me, but again, it's not locked 60s anyway. So yeah, that's it for Black Ops 6 on Steam Deck. Unfortunately, we do not have a way to play this on Linux due to the anti-cheat. Thanks Activision for doing that, I guess. And right now you need Windows to play this. I'll try the UMA buffer on the BIOS at 4 GB for the campaign to have less stutter. But overall, with the UMA buffer at 1 GB, the RAM is under control. The VRAM seems to be under control as well. So I'll play it like this, personally. Lock to 45 instead of doing 60s. And you should be good. And another bad news is that, as I said before, you need to be always online, even for the campaign and zombies playing solo, which is super stupid, but what can you do? So anyway, let me know if you played this on Steam Deck. I want to know your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys, thanks for watching.